Charlie Kirk completely destroys the pro-abortion argument. Folks, I think you're going to like this. Abortion is arguably one of the most important, if not the most important political issue of our lifetimes. It is, after all, one of the most basic rights of the Constitution, namely a right to life. So with all that being said, we're going to get right into it. But first, do me a huge favor here, like our video and share it around so we can keep bringing you all this great, hard-hitting content. And as always, Patriots, I'm your host, Darian, and this is Resist the Mainstream.
All right, next question.
All right. So I would like to ask you about, for abortions, right? How do we explain to those who are for it, how do we explain that even, I don't know if you believe this or not, but in terms of like a rape or unintentional or really unconsented pregnancies, can we say that we should still be anti-abortion in that scenario?
Yes.
What's your grounds for that? And how would I explain it to someone else?
Sure, it's a good question. Let's say I have two ultrasounds here. Mm-hmm. One is an ultrasound of a baby from a loving marriage. The other one is a baby conceived in rape. Which one is which?
We can't exactly tell.
So they're both human beings?
Right.
They both deserve human rights.
Okay. But then what is if someone pushes back against with the idea... Do I...
Closer, yeah.
Oh. What is if someone pushes back with the idea that now, in terms of the mother, right, one of them was willingly conceived while the other one was a forced conceived?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair argument. The question then should be, when, if ever, in your moral universe, is it okay to do something evil after an evil act to try to make that evil act correct?
But how about in terms of, what if we're in the position of the mother, and she is, I don't want to take the risk of illness, death, or whatever to have this child.
Sure, so it's a little bit of a false choice because they're acting as if the termination of the pregnancy will have no consequences or costs. A lot of women that get abortions have regret. Women don't when they get abortions. They have a lot of their health issues. It's not just like getting a haircut. So it's a little bit of a false choice. But we come after it from a very basic moral argument. There are two lives involved. There's a little life and a grown life. And no one has the right to eliminate a human life in utero, period.
You know, I can't help but notice that people who get abortions very often end up coming to regret it deeply and sorrowfully so. And people who chose not to have an abortion never look back and say, you know, I really wish I ended the life of my baby. You know, it sucks having this child. It's such a drag. You know, I should have just selfishly said, hey, let's get rid of this. It's not a problem anymore. Live my own selfish life, chase my own selfish desires. I don't know, maybe become a dink or something like that. Dual income, no kids. That would have been so much better, right? It's so much better chasing desires of the flesh rather than what God wants you to do. Nobody says that, okay? It's profoundly obvious. And you know, I love how self-righteous people get about this abortion topic. Namely, the pro-abortion people will say, you have no right to decide, you know, let people do what they want. It's their body, it's their choice, it's their life, blah, 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 blah. Have you ever thought for a second that, hey, maybe people make choices that are either bad for them, somebody else, or maybe even both? All right, there's a reason why we're against murder, for instance, all right? Not only, I mean, it's obviously horrible because you're harming another person irreparably, so you're taking their life away. It also damages your own soul. All right, there's multiple factors here. Abortion is a very similar thing. People don't want to have that conversation, though.
So then, at that point, now we're forcing someone to do something that they never consented to, never wanted to do. How, isn't this violating their human autonomy?
Well, again, but eliminating the human being would also violate the baby's autonomy too, wouldn't it?
Well, then we would have to ask, right? Maybe in future years we will have the technology to be able to extract a fetus and grow a fetus outside of the uterus, but given our state of medicine right now, we do not have that.
Sure. I mean, but again, no one is delighting or rejoicing in these circumstances. I mean, it's a terrible situation. I want to reiterate that. But you have a unspeakably difficult choice that is very morally, clear though, which is that you don't eliminate a human being because an awful action happened.
Are you saying that as someone who can get... Well, I guess my pushback against that would be then if we say that it's entirely wrong, right? We are... I guess we're sacrificing someone's choice for someone's life, which is admirable, but
It's also morally correct. You don't get to murder someone smaller than you if it makes your life difficult.
but then we can't exactly see. The fetus does not have autonomy. It cannot exist outside of the uterus
Doesn't
quite
matter.
yet.
Human dignity does not correlate with dependency. So dignity and dependency are not two things corrected. You have human dignity because you're a human being, not because how dependent you are.
So would you say that viability happens when?
Viability is irrelevant.
So then, at what point does human life begin then?
Conception.
Conception, not even sperm or
That's conception.
eggs. Okay.
That's conception. That's
Well, I
when
just wanted to get
when an
that
egg is
basic-
fertilized. When an egg is fertilized, human life begins.
Okay, so then when it's still a single cell with both chromosomes pairings, right?
Well,
That-
it creates new DNA, right? So once the sperm and egg meet, literally something magical and inexplicable happens, where new DNA is formed.
Okay, and then what happens? So then,
Then it attaches to the uterine wall, and I can go through the whole
Yeah,
gestational process. But
all right, so then we have the basis of human life. Now, what is if within the uterus, now that life is still alive, but is unable to proceed to, like, let's say, actual birth due to some medical situation that has happened?
well, has the baby died without outside intervention or with outside intervention?
Let's say that
is it an ectopic pregnancy or what? You got to be very clear about the type of.
The amniotic sac has
Yeah, that's
ruptured.
an ectopic pregnancy, right? So yeah, you can remove the baby from that situation without aborting it. The baby will die outside of the womb, but you
Right.
do not have to abort it. So those are two different things. The removal of a baby is what's called the cesarean section. You can do that very early on. Now, ectopic pregnancy is very real. It's very terrible, but you can solve an ectopic pregnancy outside of having an abortion.
Related to that note, many leftists will often very falsely suggest that abortions are such a necessary medical procedure and that in many cases they will protect the mother's health or save her life. Newsflash, this is hogwash. It's a totally disingenuous argument. It's meant to obfuscate from the main point that taking life is bad and basically say you're a horrible person who hates women if you don't disagree with it, if you don't agree with this, right? That's essentially what it is. And it is a gross argument. At the end of the day, sometimes, look, there can be situations where a woman needs some kind of life-saving treatment that ultimately ends the pregnancy and ends the life of the baby. It's a really horrible and sad thing. But that is not an abortion, all right? As if you try to save the mother's life and the baby unfortunately dies or loses its life rather as a byproduct of that, that's not an abortion. That is just a very horrible, tragic circumstance.
But, okay, so then what creates an abortion? Is it the heartbeat, the removal of the fetus? What exactly
Well,
is
so
that?
I don't want to go too deep in this. Do you know what happens in an abortion? I mean, maybe you don't. Everyone who's pro-choice, in my opinion, has a moral obligation to watch a video of an abortion just to know kind of what you're supporting. It's so beyond inexplicable. But yeah, look, really quick, what's the final question on this? Because I want to keep moving.
Oh, sure. So, you didn't really finish the question of when can we do that procedure, right? If there's still a heartbeat,
I don't think we should ever do that procedure.
what happens if, like, now the mother's life is going to die in, like, the
Well,
next
it depe-
15
it depe-
minutes, but the baby is still having a heartbeat? What do we do at that point?
It depends on, again, I don't want to speak to every specific. Some OBGYNs say abortion is never medically necessary. I'm not a professional enough to say that. But it depends how far advanced the woman is. If she's past 22 weeks, have a cesarean section. Try to have the baby live in NICU.
Are there any OBGYNs in the comment section who would care to weigh in? Let us know. We would love to hear from you.
So there are situations where abortions are okay, right?
Well, no, I'm not even saying okay. Again, I don't know enough about some OBGYNs that they can defend their statement here. They will say abortion is never medically necessary. I'll allow them to defend that. I don't know enough about the details there to be able to say that.
So you're saying that you do not have a statement of whether abortions can never be true or always?
It is whether or not an OBGYN can prove to me, of which there's a lot of debate, it is ever medically necessary. So take, for example, if a baby is 26 weeks and the baby's, the mom's life is in danger, deliver the baby by C-section. Don't terminate the baby. Does that make sense?
Yes, I
The baby can
see.
survive outside of the womb.
Okay, at that point, yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Boom! That was a beautiful takedown of the sick, pervasive pro-abortion ideology that unfortunately plagues our nation. Some would call it the commoditization of people. I call it. With all that being said, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. As always, make sure to comment on our video. Let us know what you liked, what kind of stuff you want to see in the future, and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you again soon. God bless.